Hi everybody! Valentine's Day is almost here and love is in the air, or some other sappy crap like that. And in honor of it almost being Valentine's Day, I figured today we would talk about the romantic subplots or love stories in your book. Now, keep in mind, this is not going to be about writing in the romance genre, because I don't write in that genre and I would not even attempt to give any advice on that. Today I wanted to go over the common mistakes or things that I think people could improve upon in their love stories. Number one, and you will probably hear this a lot from other writers as well, but the insta-romance. Please avoid the insta-romance. If you are trying to write a relationship or love story that's even semi-believable, an insta-romance is not the way to go. Having your characters meet one day and then by day 3 they're head over heels in love and running off to get married is not believable. Now, do people in real life get married that quickly? Sure, sometimes people do. Vegas weddings and whatnot. And maybe some of them even last for the rest of their lives. But that's generally not the norm, and when you're reading a book or even sometimes watching a show, a movie, that's not really believable. There needs to be more leading up to that point for people to really be invested in these characters, that relationship, that love. If it's just an insta-romance, people are going to be rolling their eyes at you hard because they're just not going to be invested in these characters, that relationship. And it's just not going to be very believable or entertaining. Number 2, you don't consider your characters' past romances. This might sound like an odd concept, but it's actually really important to consider what kind of romantic experience your character had before your current timeline. Did they have zero experience whatsoever? So in the current setup, they're going to be completely awkward and not know what they're doing? Or did they have a lot of experience? Are they a man whore? Or did they just have a little bit of experience? Maybe they weren't necessarily the most popular person in school, but they definitely have some experience. They're not just a casual dater, but they've not necessarily had anything super serious. And how does that affect their current relationship? These are things you need to consider. So if your character had no experience whatsoever in the past, they've never even kissed someone, and then all of a sudden he meets someone new and he is super charismatic and this girl is like, damn, I want him. That might seem a little off to your readers, because generally if someone has no experience in the dating world or in relationships, they're going to be a little awkward and not know exactly what they're doing. I'm sure we all remember our first relationships and how awkward we were. Generally that's in our teens, so we're kind of awkward anyway, but this still applies to even when you're older, and maybe even more so because you went so long without any experience. 50 Shades of Grey is a good example of something to look at and consider when it comes to thinking about past experience. Now, I actually did read the first book in the series, and that was before it completely blew up, and I didn't really know what it was. I just kind of had heard people talking about it and like it was popular, so I was like, sure, why not? I'll give it a read. And oh my god, there's so many things that I find wrong with that book. One problem with that book was that the main character had never really had a relationship, and to my knowledge, she was still a virgin, and then she meets him and she's like a goddess in bed. Like, really? Are you kidding me? Something else that kind of ties into this, not past romances, but just kind of past life experience and how it would affect a potential relationship, would be a book that I read a while back. This woman witnessed her mother being raped at a very young age, and then when she was a teen, she herself was assaulted. By the time she was up into her 20s and living on her own, she'd been on her own for years, she was completely distrustful of men, had never had a relationship, and they kind of played it off like she had never even slept with anyone. So they were playing it off that she had these deep-seated issues, and that was why she was the way she was, with men and no relationships and all that. But then she meets this man, and she's completely intrigued by him, and by the 4th time that they meet, they're jumping into the sack together. I completely lost interest in the book after reading that, because they showed us her past experience and how it affected her as an adult, and that she hadn't been with anyone, and then all of a sudden she's jumping into bed with this guy that she had only met 4 times. In what universe would that happen? That did not seem realistic to me at all. If she hadn't had the background that she did and the things that had happened to her, it might not have bothered me so much because, I mean, how many people, do that in real life? Plenty. But when you have those kinds of issues that stem from your experience, your childhood, that's not going to happen. Number 3, sex does not equal romance. You really need to consider the emotional versus the physical in your stories. Because, yes, when 2 people are in love, generally that means there is sex happening. But just because 2 people have sex does not mean that there is romance or love between them. You really need to consider the bond between your characters outside of the physical. Consider their emotional bond. Show that build-up and that connection between them. This not only makes for a more realistic love story, but it also makes it a little more entertaining and will really draw your readers in more and make them more invested in this relationship. Number 4, and this should go without saying, but abuse or assault is not love. It is not romance in the slightest. It's just fucked up. This should be nowhere in your love story unless it's maybe something from your character's past that is influencing their current potential relationship. Someone trying to force themselves on another person in any way is not cute, it's not sexy, and it is certainly not something that leads to love. If this guy is trying to kiss this girl and she's saying no, she's backing off, it's not cool to have him try to, grab her and just kiss her. Maybe some people think that this makes for a good story and that it's just passionate, but I don't view it that way. To me, that's assault, and that guy would be getting punched in the face. Number 5, the on-again, off-again relationship. If they are on again and off again, clearly there is something that draws them together, but there's also something that pushes them apart. Maybe the characters should just stay apart. Because the whole, they love each other, no, they hate each other, no, they love each other, they hate each other. Why? Why is that a good story in some people's minds? To me, that's just ridiculous. When I'm reading a book, that's one of the things that I don't want to read because I just think it's ridiculous, and I think that both the characters are just stupid. Number 6, love triangles. Now, my opinion on love triangles might not be as harsh as some writers, but it's still something that I would caution others on using in their love stories. I do think that it can be done well and lead to a very interesting story and really draw me in, draw me to the characters, and make me more invested in the story. But at the same time, it can just seem overdone, and it can feel like you're just reading the same story, the same relationships over and over and over again. So sometimes it might be best to just avoid the love triangle. Number 7, douches and bitches. Why, oh why, are there so many romantic subplots where the character is in love with a complete jerk? Why would they look at this person who treats them like crap, treats their friends and family like crap, and they are still completely enamored with this person? I can't remember the last time I met a guy and I was like, man, he's such an asshole to me, but I love him and I want to marry him and have his babies. Reading these kind of stories where the main character is just totally head over heels for this complete asshole are just infuriating. It's not entertaining to read. It doesn't give me those, warm, fuzzy feelings when you're reading a love story where you're just like, oh, God, I want them to kiss. God, I want them to be together. It makes me want to reach into the book and slap the person for being so stupid. So that's one of those things that don't make your character fall in love with someone who is just a total douchebag or a total bitch. Well, that's all I have for you today. If you need me to expand on any of these things that I talked about, leave me a comment or send me an email. I would be glad to delve into this more. I just didn't want to rant for an hour on YouTube over these things. If you have anything you'd like me to talk about in future videos, leave me a comment below, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel so that you'll be aware when I post new things in the future. And don't forget to follow me on social media. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Sadie McEwen. Thank you for watching today, and until next time.